Hello and welcome to Extreme Gameplays, where I play games stylishly. Today, I decided I just want to ramble a little bit for a couple of 10 to 15 minutes about what God of War Ragnarok Valhalla means to me. Now, God of War Ragnarok Valhalla dropped at a very perfect time in my life. Like, I truly needed it. It couldn't have dropped at a better time, but I'll get to that in a couple of minutes if I remember. But I don't have any bullet points to touch on. I'm just here to ramble about how much I love this game, like a separate game. Ragnarok Valhalla is a whole separate game for me right now. I never could make the content that I promised to myself that I would make about God of War Ragnarok Valhalla. You know, since like the day I saw it, the day I laid my eyes on it, when it got revealed and all that, I was like, okay, this is gonna come out, I'm really gonna love it, and I did love it. I'm gonna make a whole lot of content about it, but I never could make a lot of content about it. I still to this day don't have a lot to offer in this. Not like the other God of Wars where I can offer something, like a very hard challenge or whatever. But I digress. God of War Ragnarok Valhalla is like something very, very special to me, and I really don't know where to begin. I tried to put it in a script, but I feel like just talking about it in a, podcasty type of way like this would be a little better. And I don't know, it's just expressing my feelings about the whole game and what it means to me. It dropped at a very perfect time. That's the most important thing about God of War Ragnarok Valhalla. For me, when it dropped, I was at a very dark place in my life and I couldn't bring a flashlight to save that motherfucker. Okay, like my life was really in ruins, in shambles, and I was still, struggling at the time. And I had a very challenging thing to do as well at the time. It was truly occupying my life as well. And it was the God of War 3 Oko, the one-hit KO where you have to beat the whole game without dying. I did it, now speaking in today's time. But at the time, Ragnarok Valhalla dropped. And I'm gonna say, I didn't really slack off on what I did for God of War Ragnarok. I made 2 streams about it, going through the whole thing. The first stream was on the hardest difficulty, getting to learn the game and all that. The second stream, I finished the story because I didn't want it to get spoiled for me. And God, where do I begin with the story? I love it very, very much. But I'll touch on the thing in just a couple of minutes. I just want to talk about what it means to me at the time when it dropped. I can't preface this enough, but this dropped at a very, very perfect time. As I said before, this couldn't have dropped at a better time. It just fits so well, and my reactions to things that happen just says it all, if I'm being honest. Like, if you go ahead and watch my reaction to the things and all that, like when the game shows the Blade of Olympus, so out of nowhere, such a thing, and it's like, when it happened, I was so overwhelmed with emotions and all that, because and it was a weird case of nostalgia. Like, it's not like I haven't played the old God of War games in a hot minute. Hell, like, I used the Blade of Olympus, I think, a week before seeing it in God of War Ragnarok Valhalla, but it was different. See, I'm gonna touch on what makes Valhalla very, very good for me as well, but I just want to get this out of the way. The feelings I have are just immense. Like, it's just my reactions, you can go ahead and see them, are very, very, absolutely from the deepest part of my heart. You can see it in a lot of players' faces. You can watch Captain Cuba and how he reacted to the Blade of Olympus and all the other moments here and there. But honestly, it's just so lovely seeing Greek things again in here. These things that I grew up with ever since 2007 when I first laid my eyes on a God of War game, God of War 2. It just felt a lot. And now I'm gonna touch on to what it felt, after the fact. Like, we got some stuff, and they didn't just leave it hanging in the air. They actually made it a mechanic or what have you. So let's start talking about the game right now for me. It took me out of a very dark place in my life. Kind of made me cope with the pain a lot, and I play it to this day. Like, I just played it and lost against Cracky, but we don't want to talk about how much I suck in this game. But yeah, this game kind of reunited the fan base, and kind of had a based opinion about God of War Ragnarok somewhat in the whole entire community, because everyone liked this. I don't know, maybe there are some few people that didn't like it, but everyone liked this, including me, since day one when I saw the game being released, or revealed. I woke up in that morning and I saw the reveal, Captain Cuba's reacting to it, everyone was reacting to it. I instantly made a breakdown, and everyone was like, in that breakdown video that I made, everyone was like, you're kind of overreacting, you're kind of getting way too excited to something that you don't know what it's gonna be. But I knew what I was getting signed into. You see, when I get excited nowadays, I know why I'm excited. I know what gets me excited. And seeing that in the description of God of War Ragnarok Valhalla, it said roguelike. Now, my interpretation at the time was like, it's gonna be a roguelike, it's gonna be the same bosses from the campaign, you're gonna fight Needhawk, for example, then fight Garm, then fight some enemies. That didn't end up happening, but it's fine. Something else happened much better, which is the whole tier boss fight, Greek gauntlets, a whole gauntlet game with a new rage mechanic, which is the Blade of Olympus, and Tyr's boss fight, which is safely my favorite boss in the God of War Ragnarok right now. Easily. In the Norse games, actually. Easily. Hell, he might be my top 5 bosses of all time. In all of God of War. But I'll get to the gameplay and combat part and game design part, which is the most important part, in a couple of minutes. So, I saw the roguelike thing. I instantly knew what I was getting signed up to. Okay. God of War Ragnarok released. I fell in love with this game. I didn't... my critiques about the game weren't so... the things that you saw in other places, like, hey, the story, hey, Kratos is that, the tone is that, which these are valid critiques. I can have some of these critiques, but I never really felt that deep about it to keep on talking about it and all that. My main criticism about the game was the game design. The game design is horse shit. I'm sorry for anyone watching this from Santa Monica. The game design was very, very bad. And I don't mean, yo, the camera, yo, no jumping, yo, no. I'm just talking about the game design, how the game flows. It had more downtime than actual playtime, which is a crime. This is a war crime. This is criminal. This is... I'm about to be a war criminal if I play another campaign of God of War Ragnarok, which is... it's so sad that that's the case. There's a lot of walking, slow climbing, slow boat sections. At launch, unskippable cutscenes. They were gate locking me from trying to play the game. Atreus sections and all the such. I don't want to turn this whole ramble into me critiquing God of War Ragnarok, but it needs to get brought up. The whole game is a walking contradiction to what it offers. The game is a game of builds. You can try out other shields, you can try out other things, try this, and then with New Game Plus, the contradictions just kept on getting larger and larger than what they needed to be. Like, it's a New Game Plus in God of War Ragnarok to this day for me feels like a whole contradiction. Yo, you can replay the game with different burdens. Yo, you can replay the game with different this, that, the third. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, but no. You still have to walk slow. Walkie-talkies are still unskippable. Walkie-talkies are cutscenes, except they're not cutscenes. That's why you can't skip them. Not cutscenes. Slow climbing I can excuse, boat I can excuse, but walkie-talkies I cannot. Atreus segments that are 80 to 90% walking I cannot excuse. I cannot just sit through this and play it like this. I offered a lot of stuff that could fix this, which were mission select or an actual skip Atreus button, because you guys already said God of War is Kratos and Kratos is God of War. What if I only want to play as God of War Kratos? But whatever, this is beyond this now. This gets me to God of War Ragnarok Valhalla. Where do I begin? When I saw the trailer and when I read the whole blog and it said roguelike, I instantly knew what I was getting into. Combat. Game design. The best thing about God of War Ragnarok is forefront. And the first thing you see in this is the combat. That's the most important thing. Now, I knew some other stuff would come in with the combat. With great combat comes great music. And so they even showed it in the trailer. Greek music. I knew with great combat and them showing a Cyclops, with great combat, Cyclops, Greek music, comes great combat, Greek stuff. And they delivered on it when the game released. I was getting way too excited thinking, okay, maybe the Cyclops, maybe the Gorgon, maybe 1 or 2 more enemies in Greek. But oh my god, these guys delivered. Which now gets me to the gameplay part. Finally, I can talk about the gameplay. God of War Ragnarok Valhalla is a game for gamers. Is a game for people who love a combat system. Thank God God of War Ragnarok's combat did not go to waste. Because it was literally going to waste for me. I could not replay it. I could not put up with it. they did not let the combat go to waste. They knew they had a great grip on the combat, and they capitalized on it. Basically, they were like, okay, the combat is so good, we're not gonna leave it just for one game. We're gonna add it to Valhalla, and it's fleshed out. It's no RPG stuff. You open chests to get rewards, perk glyphs, and you know, all the kinds of runics and stuff. And the whole game just kind of flows differently than how you would in a normal campaign of God of War Ragnarok. So it is basically everything I ever wanted. Replayability, original God of War style, you know, the lone wolf, one-man army, original hack and slash vibe to God of War. Kratos is alone, no companions other than Mimir, which Mimir doesn't count as a companion. It's just you against the enemies. And the other Greek factor is that, other than the Greek enemies, which I'll get to in a second, it's just a lot of things that I can just talk about right now. But let's touch on them, actually. Just the whole feel of resource management that I was missing from these Norse games. In these Norse games, sorry. You have these tombstones that you can interact with, and you can heal some of your health or heal some of your rage mode. Your rage mode is now much more of a resource, especially when you're using Legacy, the Blade of Olympus rage mode, which is what I use all the time. I'm never changing that rage mode. Which, by the way, I'm making a comparison for the Blade of Olympus. It's going to come out in a couple of days. I'll try to make it come out before the God of War 1 anniversary, so stay tuned for that. But anyways, it's just everything I loved about God of War returned in an instant. And it didn't just return as a nostalgic factor thing. Like, they didn't just show the Blade of Olympus and leave it hanging, as I said at the start. They showed you the Blade of Olympus, but now you're gonna have to use this, and oh my god, how much this thing just changes the combat game. It just amplifies the combat game. It doesn't change it. It's like, it adds so much more mobility. It makes the game feel like God of War 3 level of mobility. It's just how fast you're zipping around the entire arena, shooting something, that enemy is far, you closing the distance, and I'm gonna touch on this in my comparison, but I can't help it. When I think about the Blade of Olympus, the first thing I think about right now is God of War Ragnarok Valhalla. It just nailed it so well. Like, oh, we showed a Cyclops in the trailer. They didn't just leave that hanging, or they didn't just add it in one segment in the game. No, you have undead legionnaires, you have harpies, you have new type of legionnaires, you have legionnaire captain, you have sirens, you have minotaurs. And it's just, how good can you get? And I now want to get to another point of people defending the game. Maybe someone critiques it or something. And I hate that this point gets brought up. It's free, it's free, it's free. This kind of, it degrades the game in a way when I read it. Yo, this is all free. Or, you know, someone critiques it and then, bro, chill out. This is free. Everything. It doesn't matter if it's free. It has room for criticism. If it needs criticism, if it needs critiquing, I be critiquing. And when I critiquing, you be pleasing. I couldn't Muhammad Ali my way through that phrase. I usually do. But anyways, yeah, the game design is baller. It kind of wants you to keep on replaying it for how challenging it is and for how amazing it is on replays. You have 3 paths you can choose. You might love the blades so much, use the blades. It's not the same combat balancing that the campaign has. The enemies are not so inconsistent with their reactions like the original campaign. Now in here, you're going through these amazing encounter arenas that I loved so much, which was a big thing. When I would critique God of War Ragnarok, yo, I can't replay it, people were like, dude, just play in Muspelheim or in Niflheim. I don't want to do that. That's not the same level of depth that was put into the encounters of the campaign of God of War Ragnarok. Have you seen how deep these encounters are in the campaign? I wanted those. They gave me that and then some. Greek enemies. Fight Greek, the whole different roster of enemies. On your way there, half of it is your usual Norse enemies. The other half is Greek enemies with Greek areas. Beautiful Greek setting, rivaling God of War 3's chamber when it comes to Greek stuff. I can't begin to touch on this without just shilling for the game for the next hour. I can go all day, literally all day. The game design is amazing. Unlike the usual campaign that you have from the Norse games, which is around, it kind of leans towards the 8-hour mark if you want to play the whole campaign professionally for combat mastery, which is a very important thing in my life. I love to master these games when I play them. This one will last about an hour, and then you can play it again with another build. You can play it again with another approach. You can play it again with another, path for the weapons. And you can play it again, and maybe this time you want to take it into a whole deep run where you loot everything, where you take on every encounter, where you beat King Hrolf, the Berserker, and then beat Tyr as well. Or you want to have a fast run where you don't loot everything, you just fight Tyr. And as I said, the resource management, the way you upgrade things, so you enter the Greek area and you gotta go through a lot of encounters. You might want to come back, upgrade something, heal your rage mode, heal your take your health back, then go do encounters and stuff. Just such a nice Greek God of War vibe to it, while still remaining a Norse God of War game. This is still Valhalla. This is still the same story after Ragnarok, which gets me to my next point right now. This story. Where do I begin about talking about the story? How can I shill about the story without sounding like an absolute shill amongst shills? They took the story and they kind of gave me everything I wanted. The only critique I ever have, which I did talk about in the dark comedy video that I made a couple of days ago, is that they acknowledged the boat captain as something serious. This is the only critique that I have. I hate how they acknowledged him as a serious character. This was supposed to be a running gag joke in the series, only brought up faintly as a joke. Knowing that he haunts Kratos to this day is not something I was so pleased with as a longtime fan. But that's about it. Other than that, the broader, bigger story, Kratos is literally going through therapy. Now, other critiques I might have, like Tyr being so perfect, he's Superman, using the power of the sun. He loves every people. He is the best human being with no flaws and no bad past. That's gonna be a video for another day, or I did talk about it in my Gods of War comparison. Which God of War is the best? Which god is the best God of War? So I don't need to touch on that again. Let's stop it with the critiques. Kratos facing his past. The devs themselves just telling all the people that kind of ignored Kratos and just shelled him, exiled him out of the conversation of deep characters when the Norse games dropped. Everyone was like, yo, this character is finally a deep character. He has depth now. He kind of matured. Finally, he matured. Right, Fat Brett? This game kind of brings you back, and Kratos says to himself and to the audience and to the journalists that kind of always abandoned the old Kratos as a, kind of always interpreted him as a rage ball and nothing else. No, Kratos says it the best in this line.
You are cruel and arrogant and selfish. But you are more than that. You have always been more than what others saw. You are more than that.
All in all, I don't want to talk about the story more. I don't want to show a lot more. Even though I have showed some right now, trust me, you will want to go through this if you're an old God of War fan. If you're not an old God of War fan and just a Norse God of War fan, I'm sure you've seen enough of Kratos to be interested in Kratos. Please play it, which at this point, I don't know why I'm recommending it right now, 6 months after. I'm pretty sure everyone played it, given that it's free, it's baffling that it's free. This is baffling that it's free. I would pay $30 for this. As I said, it's a whole different game. I can't, 100% give it the whole different game thingy, since it's kind of the combat system of God of War Ragnarok. Without that foundation, you wouldn't have God of War Ragnarok Valhalla, but it's just like, it's a different approach to game design, where it's gamey. It's old game design where you want replayability and mastery in your combat game rather than just a one-time long experience 80-hour campaign. It is a old God of War, lone man, one-man army, resource management, Greek enemies. Oh my god, where do I begin? And it's just everything I've ever loved in God of War just returned in an instant, and then some with God of War Ragnarok Valhalla. I just felt like talking right now. I know I've been talking for 20 minutes. I know not a lot of you guys have made it to the end right here. I'm just saying, God of War Ragnarok Valhalla means a lot to me. It means a lot to me. It is very important. It dropped at a very important time. a lot of the things I love about it have nothing to do with nostalgia. A lot of the things that have to do with why I love it is just the pure game design. They did not let a great combat go to waste. I'll forever be thankful for what they did with this. My posts at the time on Twitter and YouTube, my praise that I gave it at the time, still stands if you go back and see it. And I'll forever praise this for what it is, and for what it tried to be, and for what it achieved with the story, with the gameplay, with the game design, the most important thing. And it's just, I don't know where to end this video right now. I guess I should just end the video right now, not talk anymore. Let's just stop dick riding this game to all ends, even though it deserves it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm sure you just put this in the background somewhere. Please put this in the background. You're at the end of the video. I'm sure you did that. It's just me rambling, but yeah. It's just, I wanted to make this video since I saw that one video by Endless Rambles, or Ramblers of Endless or something. I don't know what channel. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna attach it on the screen right now while I'm editing this. He rambled about God of War Ragnarok. I saw this video a while back. Really nice video. I decided to do the same thing right now. It's literally 2 a.m. right now and I'm recording this. Yeah, thank you guys so much. So much for the support. Thank you. I do live streams for God of War. I make content for God of War. God of War Blade of Olympus comparison is coming in the next couple of days. I got the thumbnail down at least. Thank you for watching. Go play God of War Ragnarok Valhalla. Peace.